was like, you watch, every weed joke is gonna land. It really did, man. You guys were fucking right there for it. Thank you. That made me feel phenomenal, and it also made me feel a little bit ashamed that I waited this long to come to Oklahoma to do a fucking show. Yeah, I'll be back soon, but you know what? We're here tonight, so let's get some shit done. All right, where are the microphones at? For the Q&A, or do we just yell shit out? There's one there. Where's that? Oh, there you are. There's one right there. Yeah, you're all right. You're good. Did you cut him or something? Hey, man, what's your name?
I'm Jacob Cotner.
Everyone give it up for Jacob. He's first.
Jacob, what can I do you for? When I went and saw Clerks 3 is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Went and saw the Fathom event. Did not know I'd be attending a funeral for a friend.
We kept that out of the trailer.
It destroyed me.
We showed you one heart attack.
Right, didn't see that coming. Went back the next day, processed, wept, and also realized throughout the entire movie you're setting up the ending. Even from the first note with Welcome to the Black Parade. What was the line? Sometimes I get the feeling she's watching over me, and other times I feel like I should go. At what point during writing this movie did you decide to kill our Dante?
Oh, good God. Well, to be fair, I've been trying to kill him since 1993. I've been as ineffective as the coyote, man. Fucking just can't get him. He keeps meeping away. Once I realized we were headed toward 3, and I realized what 3 would have had to be, because there was a different version of this movie that I wrote like 10 years ago that looks nothing like this film. The only thing it shares in common, other than the cast, is the only jokes that ported over from that version to this version would be the butt thief conversation. I love that joke. Thank you. I was so scared over the course of 10 years that somebody would discover the Bible and tell that joke first. I was like, oh, if they see this butt thief shit, I'm fucked, man. And the kites, all the kite stuff was in the other version of Clerks 3 as well. But it was very artificial. The thing that works about Clerks, at least from my perspective, is it was my life. Like, that was just my real life. I just changed everyone's names. No, nobody ever fucked a dead guy in the bathroom, but generally speaking, that's exactly what my life looked like. A kid who started this journey, let's call him this Kevin Smith. If I'm that Kevin Smith, he's this Kevin Smith. He was so into film. He thought film could save the world and stuff. He was that kid. And he had this dream after he saw Slacker of making his own film. He's just like, my God, that fucking, does this counts as a movie? I think I could make a movie too. I always said I viewed it with a mixture of awe and arrogance. Awe because I'd never seen anything like it before, arrogance because I thought I could do it, even though I'd never done it before. But I watched enough movies, and I had timing and shit, I thought, and I could write, so I was like, maybe I could try that. So this Kevin Smith does. He fucking pulls it off, man. He makes this movie against all fucking logic. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Mercifully, he surrounds himself with some friends to help him out and shit. And at the end of the movie, he kills the main character because he was so full of artistic integrity. Oh, he loved that shit, man. It was such a fucking, you're not even supposed to be here today, man. Fucking, if you go to work, you could die. Minute. Like, such an edgelord sentiment and shit. And I remember, John Pearson, who's our producer's rep on the movie, wonderful guy. He said, producer's rep is somebody, if they rep your movie, they bring it into a distributor, hopefully you get picked up. He very successfully repped Spike Lee on his first movie, She's Gotta Have It, Michael Moore on his first movie, Roger and Me, and then Richard Linklater on Slacker. So we went after Pearson. Pearson loved the movie and stuff. And he was like, I'll rep it under one condition. It's all right. He goes, you gotta cut that ending. I was like, the ending, why? And he goes, because you have this wonderful movie where you grow to love these cats over 90 minutes, and then you kill one of them for what seems like no better reason than you don't know how to end the motion picture. I was like, that's not true at all. He goes, what is it? I said, I think it's the funniest joke in the whole movie. And he's like, how do you figure? I was like, he's not even supposed to be there that day. And he gets killed, but I'm bummed and shit. And he was like, stick to the 37 dicks conversation. That's way fucking funnier. So, you know, this Kevin Smith, I knew him. He never would have cut that ending, ever, in a million fucking years. No, that was his statement, that was his testimony and shit. But I was lurking in the recesses of his mind, and I heard fucking a quick path to a possible future. This Kevin Smith didn't have enough vision to get past Clerks. That was it. He didn't see the future. He saw Clerks. That was it. I saw the future. I saw this. I dreamed that this was possible. You get a bunch of people in a room, make them overpay to watch a movie. Oh shit! What a genius I am! So I went in and I cut the ending, and he stopped existing, and I started existing. And you know, no complaints whatsoever. I've loved everything I've done in my career since then. All the adventures I've gone on are predicated on the one great decision that kid made and stuff. But I always felt kind of bad that I took away his vision of the movie, turned it into my vision of the movie and stuff. Not too bad though, because no regrets. Like if I hadn't cut that ending, I wouldn't have been able to make two of my favorite films I ever made, Clerks 2 and Clerks 3. The thing about Clerks 2 though is like, Clerks 2 I love very much, but it's a movie. Clerks is a total film because it's one of the most authentic and earnest movies ever made, because it was made by a guy who was working at the convenience store while he was making a movie about the convenience store. So he would only turn the camera off to like go ring somebody up and be like, thank you, come again. And then he'd go back and dramatize that fucking moment and shit like that. And the movie has, like for years I was always wondering like, why do people, I don't get why people like it. Unless you're from New Jersey, why would you like this movie and shit? And then I found out, it took me about 2 decades, but I figured it out. Everybody in the world has had a job they fucking can't stand. And at that job, they've done everything they could to not fucking work, man. So like, that film reeks of that. When people watch it, they're like, I do the same thing at my job. I don't do my job either. This is amazing. Now, problem is, thanks to the success of that movie, I never had to work fucking retail again. Like, all the boots on the ground experience went away. In fact, I bought the retail establishment. I've owned Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash for 25 years, and I just bought my hometown movie theater. So, now I'm the boss. Now I have a completely different perspective, man. So much so that if one of my employees came to me all Randall-like and was like, this job would be great if it weren't for the fucking customers, I'd be like, you're fired, get out of my place. Yes, I know I made Clerks, unpack it with your analyst, fuck off. You know? Not that person anymore. I also can't give you the discovery that Clerks had, man. Clerks had the thing going for it where it was like, hey, do you know what snowballing is? And I told you, like, oh God, I gotta tell 100 people. And then you go tell 100 people and you tell them where you heard it and shit. And then, well, what? Clerks? I gotta see this fucking thing. About 2 years after Clerks, the internet wound up in everybody's fucking house, and I'll never be able to tell you anything you don't know again. You know, think about it. Imagine I tried to tell you some new fucking spangled sex term for this movie, you'd be like, Kev, that's so quaint. But that's a subcategory at fucking Pornhub that I jerk off to regularly. So I don't have that either, the element of surprise. That's why when I got to Clerks 2, I started making shit up. Couldn't do that anymore. So I was like, well, let me just write some Dante and Randall fan fiction, essentially. Like, I love Clerks 2, don't get me wrong, but Clerks is a film, Clerks 2 is a movie, 3 acts. Happy endings, a fucking dance number in it, for Christ's sake. Very good one, man. But at the end of the day, it's artifice, because none of that shit happened to me. Clerks, everything happened to me. Clerks 2, I never worked in a fast food joint. There was never any threat somebody was gonna make me move to fucking Florida. And fucking, I've lived a life of adventure and done many cool things, but in my 52 years, I've never seen a donkey show. So, all of that is just made up. It's all like bullshit. It's me going like, what would Dante and Randall do if I had $5 million? Because that's what I had. And I love that movie because it got me to this fucking movie, man. And especially the last like 10, 15 minutes of that movie. Like the jail scene is just this movie blown up large, man. Like, I love that jail scene in Clerks 2. I was like, I want to spend a whole movie with hopeful Randall. You scratch the cynic and you find the hopeful person underneath, man. I was like, ooh, I want to spend the whole movie with that fucking guy. So, I tried to write a version of Clerks 3, which we tried to make for the better part of 10 years, and it would not come together for this reason, for that reason, just wasn't meant to be. Then I went and had a heart attack, and then after that I was like, ooh, content. And suddenly, I took the heart attack and I gave it to Randall. I was sitting there going, what if I did it and gave it to Randall? I was like, what if, like, I did Clerks 3 the way I did Clerks, which is like, you know, I could take my real life and give it to the characters again, and then just change everybody's fucking names and shit. So Dante, you know, and Randall work in the store that I used to work at. Randall has my heart attack, right down to all the shit he fucking says is all the shit I said. And Dante and Randall make a movie at their job that looks suspiciously like one that I made at my job many years ago and stuff. So boom, suddenly we're back to reality. Suddenly the formula feels more like the formula of the first one, if there was such a thing and stuff. But more importantly, it gave me an opportunity to make real my favorite Taoist proverb, which makes it sound like I've got a bunch. I only know one. It was written by Lao Tzu like 1,000,000 years ago, and I don't know the native speak, but this is how it sounds in English. To be great is to go on. To go on is to go far. To go far is to return. Because furthest point you could possibly fucking go is right back to where you fucking began. That's it. Journey gets no fucking longer than that once you get back to the start. So I was like, oh shit, man, I got a chance to do that for real with the movies, man. To be great is go on, is go far, and go far is to fucking return. So I could do it. I could land this fucking bird, man, and more importantly, I could give that fucking kid what he always wanted. I could kill Dante for him. You know, like, he didn't want to lose that ending. I cut it, and I've enjoyed the spoils of the victory since and stuff, but he just dreamed about that, his perfect little motion picture. And I ruined it for him, and I was like, oh shit, if we're going 3, now I get a chance to give it back to him, man, in the streams of time. Be like, here kid, here's the ending that you loved so much. Sorry, fucking took me a few years, but I agree with you and shit. And I could also make the death mean something more. When, you know, this Kevin Smith wrote it when he was a kid, it was just fucking stupid. It was a stupid way to end the movie. It was a useless death, but now, oh shit, I've lived fucking almost 30 years since then. I've lived a life and I've become wizened. I have experience to impart and shit like that. I can make that death fucking play. I can make it mean something, man. I could maybe make it mean what I dreamed about doing when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my father used to take me to the movies all the time. And, you know, I think it was because he got yelled at by my mother. We used to all go to the movies as a family on the weekend. But my dad worked at the post office, and he worked at night, canceling stamps and shit, and so he slept during the day. So we'd only see him for like an hour between fucking school and dinner or something like that. My mom was like, you're missing these kids growing up, man. You gotta fucking hang out with them. You gotta find something to do with each one of these kids, a special thing. My dad was like, all right, well, the fat one likes movies. I'll take the fat one to the movies all the time. So my mom told me one day, she's like, your dad's coming to pick you up at noon. I was going to Our Lady of Perpetual Help, OLPH, it's my parochial school. And I was like, at noon? I don't get out till 3. She's like, yeah, he's coming to get you, he's gonna take you to the movies. I was like, movies? We go on Saturdays. Like, he's gonna start taking you on Wednesdays at noon. I was like, but school's not over. She said, yeah. I was like, what do I tell the nuns? And she said, you tell them that your aunt died this morning. Because that's the kind of family we were, just bald-faced lie to the clergy and shit. Good Catholics. So, I went to school, and at noon, I got called down to Sister Gloria Louise's office, and she was like, oh my God, Kevin, I'm so sorry. Your aunt passed away. I was like, what? No, so sudden. She said, your father's here to take you to the funeral. I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, we'll pray for her. I was like, don't bother. And got in the car with my old man. I was like, where are we going? He goes, we're going to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I was like, oh, I didn't have that reaction. I was like, can't we go see Superman 2 again? He's like, 4 times is too much, Kevin. We're gonna go see this. And so that was the last thing he fucking said for the rest of the ride. My father was not a talkative, communicative man. My sister always insists that's where I got Silent Bob. She's like, Dad never talked until he had something very funny to say, and then he's dropped it and shut the fuck up. She's like, I think you stole Silent Bob from him and stuff. He was not a chatty dude. He wasn't like me. You know, I'm fucking obviously overly chatty. I love the sound of my own voice and shit like that. And with my kid, it's all different. Like my old man, I saw his relationship with his father. It was fucking horrible. His parents were cold as ice and shit. So I know my father did 100% better than his parents did with him. That being said, you know, he wasn't me. He wasn't like fucking wearing his heart on his sleeve. He didn't tell me everything and shit. Me and my kid are like this. Ever since she was young, I never talked to her like she was an idiot and shit. I talked to her, she was just like a little adult human and stuff. So I'd be like, you know, I fucked your mother, right? Give her a sense of reality. My father never once told me he fucked my mother. We didn't do a lot of talking, man. You know, he was just dad. He just, you know, fucking, he's in charge. Dad works at night, so you gotta be quiet when he's sleeping during the day. You know, a dad brings home the money. He's more of a figurehead than anything else. But sitting in that movie theater next to him, oh shit, that's how I learned who my father was. That day we were alone at Raiders of the Lost Ark. 2 people alone, a matinee show, right? You wouldn't have known, you would have thought the place was packed because my father would not stop fucking talking. Throughout the whole movie, he was so fucking excited and beside himself and whatnot. And again, it's not a guy I was used to having conversations with. I was used to being spoken to by my father. But my father that day, that's the thing, I walked into the movie theater with my father, but in the movie theater I found Don Smith, the kid at the gooey center of my father, the guy who my dad was and shit. He's sitting next to me and he's just fucking talking a blue streak because Raiders of the Lost Ark is lighting him up. He cannot fucking believe how much he loves this movie. He's like, oh my God, isn't this great? This is like a cliffhanger, man. Me and your Aunt Barbara go see cliffhangers all the time in Irvington when we were kids. You go, you pay $1, and you see a movie, and then the movie wouldn't end. Suddenly something didn't happen, you had to go back the next week, pay, and then see the ending, and then they tell you a whole new story. Oh, it was amazing. And that's what they're doing. That's what this is. Are you having a good time? I'm having a great time. Isn't this great? It's like he was doing rails of coke and shit. But that's where he came in life, in the movies, man. He's pretty quiet and stoic, but in the movie theater, oh, that brought it all out of him. And he was never once sat next to me and was like, you should do this shit. You could do this. We didn't come from that generation. Nobody encouraged a child to do shit like that. You know, fucking nobody encouraged a child, period, and shit. They didn't start putting lost kids on milk cartons till the 80s. Us 70s kids, they didn't give a fuck about it. And my father would be like, you see that mountain over there? Never climb it. You'll fucking hurt yourself, you know, shit like that. But sitting next to him in the movie theater, man, fuck, I learned a lot about who my father was. You learn a lot about a person sitting next to him in the dark, seeing what makes him laugh in a movie, seeing what makes him feel and stuff like that. Sometimes you laugh the same thing, sometimes he's laughing at shit which went over my head. Maybe independently study, find out what the fuck he was laughing about and shit like that. Made me smarter. And again, not him ever saying, this will make you smarter. It was just shit that happened as I sat next to him in the movie theater. The most important thing ever happened to me in my life happened when I was sitting next to my father in a movie theater, man. I was a big fan of Rocky, like every 70s kid was and shit. And so my father goes, hey, there's a new boxing movie, just like Rocky. I'm like,